don't think for a moment that because you are in this position, you will escape. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief will arise from some other place. But not for you. The hero and the coward are both afraid, but one of them runs in the right direction. Perhaps you were made for just such a time as this.
Did you hear that quote? I love that quote. The hero and the coward are both afraid, but one of them runs in the right direction. That's at the center of this Lionhearted series, which we began last week. The concept, the idea that somehow or another, you and I, regardless of our circumstance, to this moment, we can make a difference. Somehow, some way, we can have 20 seconds of insane courage to make a difference in the world in which we find ourselves. We started talking last week as David went through the story from a Bible story called Esther. It's actually a true story. It actually took place. It's a historical story just like our stories are. And the story that he tells is the story that in the first 2 chapters is just sort of God setting it up so you understand that wherever circumstances you are in, you can be a difference maker. It's kind of a cool concept. In fact, we looked at chapter 1. Chapter 1 had this king named Xerxes, who was the most powerful man in the world, who was extremely self-indulgent. So self-indulgent that he wanted his wife to indulge his self-indulgence. And she says, wait a minute, not there. And so she said no. He kicked her out as the queen. Queen Vashti gets fired. End of chapter 1. Chapter 2, he realizes he has no queen now, so he decides he's going to do this weird beauty pageant for well over a year, trying to find the right woman. And he finds this woman that he decides to pick as his new queen. She's a young Jewish girl named Esther. That's who the book is named after. It's her story that you're going to kind of walk through here. And then you find out that her parents are dead. She's been raised by her cousin Mordecai. They are both prisoners in this land. They've been captured, and Mordecai has somehow risen to enough power that he's close enough to the king that he finds out that 2 guys are trying to kill the king. He tells on the 2 guys, those 2 guys are killed, the king doesn't die, they write in the book, king doesn't do anything. End of chapter 2. When we get to that point, we realize, okay, something's going on here. Even though God's name is never mentioned in the book of Esther, his presence is all through it. Something is going on. He's weaving something here, just like our circumstances, because we all have stories, right? Every one of us has a story. You know you have a story. Now, some of your stories are awesome. I mean, like you have a phenomenal story. Yours is the story of stories. You're it. You got it. You know who you are, right? Because everything's going well. Your family is highly functional. Everybody loves you. Your parents are together. They're doing well. Your marriage is going well, or you hope you're going to get married. It's going to go well. Your kids love you. They think you're awesome. They want to be just like you when they grow up. Your story is cruising right over here. All your friends stand in line saying, me, pick me. I want to be your friend. A lot of you going, yeah, that's me, all right. And then your story's going so very, very well that you're tired of getting raises at your job. So, hey, yo, dude, back off, man. I don't need any more promotions, man. I don't have to be the president and grand poobah of the company. I'm doing just great. This is awesome. Or if you're in college, you're getting more scholarships and you know what to do with, and you got graduate on top of graduate, and everybody wants you, and you're the hot item in the ticket. Or you're financially, you're doing so unbelievably well. You have no debt. You're able to pay for whatever you want. You can get whatever you want. You can give it away. It's doing great. You have money kind of flowing out of your pockets. People love to hang out with you. And you got to find out where that person's sitting, right? And as they're moving through life, you're kind of going, yeah, that's them. And everybody in your family's healthy. The whole family's doing good. I mean, everybody's healthy. Nobody's sick. Your sister has a mole, but it's kind of cute. And so you go, man, that's as bad as we get in this family. We're just really it. And then, of course, God's awesome because God blesses and we're doing well. And we like him. He likes us. And we're all doing, it's just really cool. That's us. Now, I know most of you are sitting there going, okay, yeah, thanks for describing my life. But if that's not you, you want to hurt that person, whoever they are. I'm going to go find them, right? Now, there's other stories that go this extreme, okay, where there's nothing functional about your family. You're so dysfunctional, you can't spell the word dysfunctional. You have no idea what to do with it. Everybody's messed up. Nobody's together in the relationships. Every relationship is falling apart. Nobody wants to be your friends. And all the friends you did have took all your money, which has another problem because you don't have any money. In fact, you have debt. You have so much debt you can't begin to pay back just the interest alone. You're over here and it's not going well at all. And, on top of that, you hate your job. I mean, you hate your job. You quit, but they don't even know you quit. That's how bad the job is, man, and nothing's going well. In fact, if you're in college, you're 27 years in saying, this is not working, I think I need to do something about this. Whatever you are, it's just not working. You know what that's like, right? Nobody's healthy. Everybody's sick, and everybody's feeling terrible. And in fact, you got somebody that has a bad diagnosis. I mean, it's just bad. And as a matter of fact, you're looking at God going, maybe you're a good God. Maybe you're a really nice God, but you're not really a nice God over here. Maybe you're over there, but not over here. I'm not sure I like you. I'm not sure I trust you. I'm not sure what to do with you. I'm trying to like you, but I'm not even sure I'm believing in you right now. So you're somewhere. And all of our stories are somewhere between this one and this one. And most of us probably are closer to this one than that one. And wherever we are, we all have stories, every single one of us. So when we read a story in the Bible, it's because we're learning from their story about our stories, right? In fact, not only do we all have stories, we all have two stories. The one we see, the one we just described, and God's. You see, there's a bigger story going on. God has a story. You can't always see that one. You see this one, but you can't see that one. So God's story is great. He's powerful. He's loving. He's making a difference. He gives us great rewards. He does. And when the unexpected happens, look to his story and think like a difference maker. See, he has a story. You can't always see it. So when the unexpected happens, when you aren't planning on it to take place, when it suddenly shows up in your life, when that happens, look to his story and see if at this moment you're supposed to be a difference maker. Start to think like that. I remember the very first time I can remember in my life when I felt like maybe I should be a difference maker. It happened in my sophomore year in high school. My parents were delighted I got that far after spending 3 years in 7th grade, and they were very excited that I was like in that position where maybe, just maybe, he might graduate from high school, right? And so I'm in my sophomore year, and I was raised in, you gotta know about my family, I was raised in a Christian family. Now that's not a bad thing, because we believe that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through Christ. I grew up believing that. I still believe that to this day. I believe that Jesus Christ came to earth. He died for my sins, your sins. He beat death, rose from the dead, turns around and says, I want to give you life full now and complete life forever. All right? And I still believe that. In fact, it's what we're based on as a church. LCBC stands for Lives Changed by Christ. We all believe that. That was not the problem of my family. You know what the problem of my family was? The problem of my family was that we were religious people. I mean, we were like churchy people. I don't know whether you know what churchy people are like, but I'll tell you what our family was like, okay? We had to go to church twice on Sunday morning. All right, automatically, you had to go to church twice on Sunday morning. One of them was just called church, and the other was called, now catch this name, Sunday school. Think about a 12-year-old boy and think how excited he is about that one. I get to go to school 5 days a week. I hate it every day, and now you're going to add one more day, and I have to go, and they keep going during the summer. No wonder kids grow up saying, I don't like God, right? So I grew up, and I had to go twice a day, right? It was on Sunday, and not only that, we didn't get it right the first time because we had to go back Sunday night. It was crazy. You know, you ever realize if you have to go to the supermarket twice in the same day, it's because you forgot something, right? Well, that's us. We're going back because we didn't get it right. We didn't forgot something from the morning. So now we're doing 3 times on Sunday. And I am not too excited about it. And that wasn't enough. We had to do the midweek gathering. So we had to go on Wednesday nights too. And on top of that, if there was a youth group going on, I had to go to that. I'm in church 4 times, 5 times a week. And by this time, age of 15, sophomore in high school, I'm hating God. Really, I'm not too excited about God at all. Now, the biggest problem is this, that I also go to Christian school, which means that from kindergarten through 12th grade, I'm in this little world where we kind of build this wall around us, put all of us Christian kids in there, and we keep all the people that aren't out, and so we're all inside in our little holy huddle thing. 26 kids in my graduating class, 12 of them came from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. I mean, we're tight, right? And that's when that which was unexpected happened in my life. Ted showed up, right smack dab. Ted walked in the middle of our class. Ted was not a good guy. Now, I want you to know that at this point in my life, I am not happy about God. I am really not. I am struggling about all this. I'm sort of rebellious, but Ted hates God. Ted hates everything about God. He hates Christians, which is what the whole world's full of when he just walked into. He hates everything. He just doesn't like anything. Ted is bad, right? I was 15. When you're raised in a home, when you're raised in a Christian family, cursing is illegal. You're not allowed to do it. You're like sucking soap if you curse, right? And so, so I was dabbling with the Christian cursing. Darn it. Golly gee whiz. You know when you're on that level of, not Ted, man. This guy, Ted was profane. I mean, he destroyed God's name. He destroyed your name. He couldn't even speak without using profanity in his language. He was just unbelievable. Ted and I were so different. I was at that phase of my life where I was shaving twice a week. I really only had to shave once, but I felt I needed to do it twice. Ted's shaving 3 times a day. You know what I mean? We are and he's in this group, and he's not like us. So what we do is we all start to back off, right? That's what you do. Hey, he's not supposed to be here. Wasn't counting on him to show up. We start talking about him. We start judging him. We start thinking we're better than him, not as bad as him, right? We are, and somewhere along the way, I said, I had this feeling that I should be a difference maker in Ted's life. Except for I had absolutely no concept of how to do that. None. Not because I wasn't taught. I may or may not have been taught, because I was not in a position to be a difference maker. So I will be like everybody else in my class. For a whole year, we will tolerate him and hope he doesn't ever come back after the end of the year. Now, the story of Ted doesn't end there. By the way, it does in function that Ted will leave and he will not come back, and I will not know what happens to him. But this story doesn't end. I will tell you more about that story. But it was the opportunity for me to be a difference maker, and I missed it because I had no idea how to be it. We need to take a look at the book of Esther, the 3rd chapter, where the difference makers get introduced in a very clear way. So take your Bibles there at your seats, and all of our campuses, take your Bibles where you are, and open up to page 385. If you don't have a Bible, take that one. Page 385, it's going to be Esther chapter 3. Now, you're going to want to open it up a Bible because you're going to want to read this story. It's just a cool story. So Esther chapter 3, page 385. All right, we start with verse 1. And sometime later, King Xerxes, that's the bad king, the self-indulgent king, most powerful man in the world, promoted Haman. New guy gets entered into the story. He wasn't in before. New guy gets entered. Not only does he promote him, he promotes him over all the other nobles, making him the most powerful official in the empire. This guy just became unbelievably powerful, the 2nd most powerful man in the world. When the most powerful man makes you his number 2, you're the 2nd most powerful man. There are 3 types of power that people know. There's political power. He just got it. Political power is huge. There's economic power. You'll find out that he has that. And then there's physical power. We don't know whether he has that, but to be honest with you, once you have political and economic power, you really don't need that other one. This is Haman. He gets introduced, and life changes. Watch what happens. All the kings and officials, verse 2, would bow down, page 385, would bow down before Haman to show him respect whenever he passed by. For so the king had commanded. Now, the king could go out in public and see people, and he could do things, but he rarely did, because he's the king. He doesn't go out with common people, so he stays in the castle. Very rarely does he come out. When he comes out, everybody bows, right? But now he's just made a guy who has to go home every day from the palace to his house in the town, and then come back every morning, the next morning, and when he does, everybody has to bow, right? Except for one. The end of verse 2. But Mordecai, remember Mordecai, he's the cousin of Esther, the now made queen under the king, right? But Mordecai refused to bow down and show him respect. Then the palace officials at the king's gate asked Mordecai, "Why are you disobeying the king's command?" They spoke to him day after day, but still he refused to comply with the order. So they spoke to Haman about this to see if he would tolerate Mordecai's conduct, since Mordecai had told them he was a Jew. Now, all that's really important. Let's start with the last thing you just found out. Mordecai's a Jew. The queen is a Jew. A Jew believes this, if they're truly a devout Jew. They believe that there's only one God, and that one God's the only one to ever be worshiped, the only one to be bowed down to. And so they believe that you bow down to no one else but God. Mordecai is a devout Jew, so he knows he can't bow down. Here's the problem. When everybody's bowing, you stick out like a sore thumb when you don't bow. It's not bad if everybody's standing and you bow, because all I have to do is not trip over you. But when everybody's bowing, you are like, you can be seen. So there's no way he can pull this one off without being spotted. So he has to figure, okay, what's the consequences of what I'm about to do? I'm going to be a difference maker. Haman, I didn't count on this. I didn't see this coming. This is the unexpected thing that got plopped into my life. I got Haman now, the 2nd most powerful man, and everybody has to bow down to him. So he thinks, well, maybe if I don't bow down, maybe Haman will just walk up to me and go, "Dude, I really appreciate the kind of courage you have as a man. We need leadership like you. You could be number 3. Probably ain't gonna happen, all right? So he thinks, well, maybe Haman will walk up to me and he'll punch my lights out. Or maybe, more likely, Haman will get some guys to punch my lights out. Matter of fact, you'll get the kind of guys that can punch my lights out until my lights don't come back on. He can kill me. I could die for this. Difference maker, right? Everybody else bows, I don't bow. This could cost me my life. He figured it and said, I'm not going to bow. But he never saw the next unexpected thing happen coming. Look at this. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not bow down, verse 5, and show him respect, he was filled with rage. He had learned of Mordecai's nationality, so he decided it was not enough to lay hands on Mordecai alone. Now, if you have music playing in the background of the movie of this story, this would be the ominous, bad music. Listen to this. Instead, he looked for a way to destroy all the Jews throughout the entire empire of Xerxes. Mordecai doesn't bow down. He thinks he might die for it. Now he just finds out that everybody dies that has the same belief he does. All of his friends, all of his family, people he doesn't know, everybody. In fact, the entire Jewish race will die. Now, so you understand how bad this guy Haman is. He's a lot worse than Ted was. This guy Haman immediately starts to try to figure out how to do it. Look at verse 7. He does this weird thing. And then Haman saw, so in the month of April, verse 7, during the 12th year of Xerxes' reign, lots were cast in Haman's presence. Now, just so you know what lots are, it's like rolling dice at the casino. Only these dice connect you to the psychic hotline. So you roll the dice and you find out the future. He's trying to figure out what date he's going to kill all these people. Here's what he finds. To determine the best day and month to take action, and the day was selected March 7th, nearly a year later, over 11 months later, is when he's going to kill all these people. All right, now he has to convince the king that this is a smart move, so he goes in and he has this little sale pitch to the king, and just in case he can't close the deal by saying these people are bad, they're going to hurt you, they're going to make you look bad, they follow different rules than we have, instead of just leaving it there, he gets to verse 9, and he puts the cap on this one. He says, and if it please the king to issue a decree that they be destroyed, he can't issue it, the king has to. And I will give 10,000 large sacks of silver. That's 300 tons of silver. Most of us are not in that economic place in our lives. We don't have 300 tons of silver in the backyard. This guy says, I'll give it to the government administrators to be deposited in the royal treasury. Dude, just in case killing people that are not good for the kingdom is not good enough for you, I'll give you a lot of money. So what does the king do? He's self-indulgent. Look at verse 10. He says, and the king agreed, right? Piece of cake, I'm in. So they set everything in motion. Verse 13. Dispatchers were sent by swift messengers into all the provinces of the empire, giving the order that all Jews, this is not going to be good, right? All Jews, young and old, including women and children, all innocents, doesn't matter what the situation is, must be, and they catch these three words, killed, slaughtered, and annihilated. Well, isn't killing just enough? Doesn't that take care of it? No. He wants killed, he wants ISIS-level slaughtering, and he wants atomic-level annihilation. He wants nothing left of the nation of Israel. This is a bad guy. When he gets done sending out that decree, guess what the king and he do? It's what the king, the self-indulgent king, always does. If you remember from chapter 1, they get together at the end of verse 15, and the king and Haman sat down to drink. That's what they do. Just sit down to drink, and said the city of Susa fell into confusion. They just created havoc. They don't care, right? Chapter 4. Now this is where it has to come down for Mordecai. Is he still a difference maker? What's he going to do now? He didn't bow. Now what's he going to do? The unexpected has happened in his life. And Mordecai learned about all that had been done, verse 1, chapter 4, and he tore his clothes and put on burlap and ashes and went into the city crying with a loud and bitter wail. What Mordecai does is he says, God, I'm in way over my head. I need your help. That's what he says. That's what this is. This is not just some issue that you kind of do when you're feeling bad. Ripping their clothes, putting burlap on, putting ashes on, and crying out loud is their way of saying, God, I need you. I need your involvement here. It's what a difference maker always knows. It's about God's story. It's always about God's story combined with their story. My circumstances, his story coming together, right? It's a powerful, powerful moment. But he's also strategic. He's thought this one through. Look at the next verse. He went as far as the gate of the palace, for no one was allowed to enter the palace gate while wearing clothes of mourning. Now, he could have stayed at home, but he chose to go where he normally goes every day, except for he can't go to the inner gate, the king's gate. He can only go to the palace gate. Why is he going to the palace gate? He's going to the palace gate not so that Haman and Xerxes will notice him. They're sleeping off. They're drunk from the night before. They don't know it at all. He's going there because what? Esther, his cousin, is queen, and has access to the king. He knows that not only is he going to be a difference maker in this, he's going to need to get her to be a difference maker. So she spots this, verse 4 of chapter 4. When Queen Esther's maids and eunuchs came and told her about Mordecai, she was deeply distressed. She sent clothing to him to replace the burlap, but he refused it. Now, that is so, you guys, have you ever had your wife say this? You're not going out dressed like that, are you? Right? I mean, isn't that sort of the normal thing? Guys never say that to each other. Hey, dude, you're looking like slob, man. What are you doing with that outfit? It doesn't make any sense. Well, I'll take you shopping. That never happens with guys, just so you know. It just doesn't take place. But here she's looking at this saying, dude, you're embarrassing me here. He refuses to take the clothes, and so she knows something else is up, and so here's what happens. And Esther sent for Hathach, and Hathach is her key guy. It's the trusted guy. His name's used a lot in this particular chapter. For one of the king's eunuchs who had been appointed as her attendant. She ordered him to go over to Mordecai, find out what was troubling him and why he was in mourning. This is a normal signal. I see it. I understand it. So Hathach went out to Mordecai in the square in front of the palace gate. Mordecai is ready for this moment. That's why he is where he is. Mordecai told the whole story, including the exact amount money Haman had promised to pay into the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. He's going to give all the facts. Mordecai gave Hathach a copy of the decree issued in Susa that was called for the death of all the Jews. There are no copy machines. He had to get one of the originals, and he has it ready for this moment, right? He asked Hathach to show it to Esther and explain the situation to her. Tell her about this, he says. And then he also asked Hathach to direct her to go to the king to beg for mercy and plead for her people. So Hathach returned to Esther with Mordecai's message. Here's what he said, girl, see this baton? The baton of a difference maker? I'm handing it to you. I'm handing it to you. She knows what he's asking. And she responds through Hathach when she says these. And Esther told Hathach, verse 10, to go back and relay this message to Mordecai, so all the king's officials and even the people in the provinces know that anyone who appears before the king in his inner court without being invited is doomed to die unless the king holds out his gold scepter. And just so you know, Mordecai knows this. Excuse me. And the king has not yet called for me to come to him for 30 days. So Hathach gave Esther's message to Mordecai. Here's what Esther's saying. I get it. You want me to take the baton, but you know what this is going to cost me? The king and I are not doing well. For the first couple of months, everything was awesome, but not now. I have not seen him. We haven't had dinner together. We haven't been together. We haven't talked together for 30 days. I think I'm the next Vashti. I think I'm about to be deposed. I think I'm about to be gotten rid of. And you want me to walk into him at this moment and see if I can get his pleasure? He's clearly not pleased with me. My beauty and my whatever it is that he has been attracted to has faded. Do you understand? So that we know that Mordecai understands, he has this response to Hathach. Verse 13, Mordecai sent this reply to Esther. Don't think for a moment that because you're in the palace, you will escape when all other Jews are killed. She knows that, by the way. He's just making a clear point. We're in this. The unexpected has happened. We need difference makers now. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arrive from some other place. Now, understand this. He knows that they are the line of Jesus. He knows that we're going to get to Jesus through the Jewish people. Jesus will be born through the nation of Israel. They cannot be annihilated. He knows that. So God will not let the annihilation take place. Somehow, some way, he is confident that the first one he went to for help is God. But he also says this, and if you don't do something, you and your relatives will die. And by the way, Mordecai's a relative. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for just such a time as this. This has been the center of the book of Esther right here. This is where it all moves, where he's saying, you understand, girl, I've done as much difference making as I can make in this moment. I'm handing you the baton, and you might be where you are for just this moment. It's one of the coolest messages for all of us to think about, what if, just in the middle of my circumstance, in the middle of my world, in the middle of my unexpected, what if, I could be a difference maker. So she says, verse 15, Esther then sent this reply to Mordecai, go and gather together all the Jews of Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night and day. My maids and I will do the same. She says, okay. When you fast, just so you understand, it's us denying ourselves certain things so we don't lose focus on talking to God, asking God for his help. We need to get focused on asking God for help, and here's what we're going to pray. You're just going to pray to God saying, let her get a favorable response from the king. She then goes on to say, and then, though it's against the law, I will go in to see the king. I'm taking the baton, she says. And if I must die, I must die. She knows the risk. She's counting the cost. Difference makers do that, right? So Mordecai went away and did everything that Esther ordered him to do. There's a really cool moment here. This is an amazing moment where you see two difference makers in light of the unexpected. Two difference makers. You want to come back next week because you're going to find out about what she does with the baton she's given. It's an amazing story, combining God's story and her story together and making history. At this moment, you and I are all confronted with the same thing. We're all confronted with decisions to be difference makers. All of us. At different times. Most often it's easier to see when something good or bad happens that's extreme, when the interruption takes place. Sometimes it's just a corporate interruption like we're doing when we're talking about all of our campuses about at the movies. We're basically saying, hey, the month of July is coming, we're going to do something really special. We're going to just have movies that are blockbuster movies that we're going to look at, and we're going to talk about the truth of God as seen in there, because God's truth is everywhere. And it'd be a great time for you to invite a friend, be a difference maker in a person's life. Grab a ticket, invite a friend. That's cool. David, a few months ago, laid out the possibility of something bigger. What if we as LCBC, Lives Changed by Christ, had the opportunity to see lives changed by Christ throughout the entire state of Pennsylvania? What would that look like? What would that be like? Well, we're going to need difference makers. You and I to rise up and say, what if I could be that? But probably most often, and we need that in those two areas, but probably most often, you and I come to grips with being a difference maker when something good or bad happens to us personally. When all of a sudden you get this large inheritance and you didn't know you had an aunt. And you get this great inheritance. And all of a sudden, there it is, an opportunity to be a difference maker. Or you lose a bunch of money because you have a bad uncle. You know, that's like, all of a sudden you're at extremes, right? The unexpected happens. But what happens when, after a long period of time alone, you find somebody you love and they love you back, and all of a sudden you realize that, man, we're going to have this awesome relationship, and all of a sudden you go, I'm pretty excited about what I can be in this new love relationship, this new marriage. Or what if the love of your life has told you they don't want to be the love of your life anymore and the marriage is over? The unexpected happens in our life. They hurt. What if you just came back from the doctor and you were expecting a terrible report, instead you got a great report and you're feeling like $1 million? Or what if you came back from the doctor and you didn't get a great report, you got a worse report than you thought you were going to get? It's the opportunity at this moment to say, do I want to be a difference maker? I'll never forget when Caleb, our son who passed away in December of brain cancer, had first found out we had a tumor. It was April 1st, 6 years ago. We found out from the MRI that he has this huge brain tumor, and we were very much aware of the fact that this is just not good. He can't drive because of the tumor, so we're bringing him over to Manheim campus for youth group. As he's getting out of the car, he says these two things to his mother and I. He's been doing men's frat. He's figured out how to be a man. That's what we teach our guys. And so he's been doing this, and he says, you know what a boy says when he finds out he has a brain tumor? Why me, God? Why me? You know what a man says when he finds out he has a brain tumor? God, what's my assignment here? What do you want me to do? Difference maker when the unexpected takes place. What are the characteristics of a difference maker? There are 5. You need to take a note of them, because all of us have this incredible potential in the middle of our circumstances to be a difference maker. A difference maker realizes that they are not defined by their history or their situation. So whatever's happened to this moment, whatever the consequences of what's happened to this moment, God says that does not define you. You have the opportunity now to do something very redemptive. You have the opportunity to be a difference maker, so you're not defined by your past. Second thing a difference maker knows, they realize that they alone have to act. They alone have to act. Don't wait for the crowd. Don't wait for everybody else. Don't expect everybody else. It's too big for me. I can't do it. It's simply saying, I have to respond. I can't wait for reinforcements. Difference makers are not waiting. See, with Ted, my sophomore year, I couldn't break away from the crowd. I couldn't be alone to rescue him, to be involved in caring for him, because I did not understand how to be a difference maker. Third, a difference maker realizes that they know what the first step is. They know what the first step is. They might not know all the steps. Don't be a difference maker if you haven't got a sense from God what you're supposed to do. Don't just run out like a crazy person. You get a sense of Him, what's the first step to make a difference in this situation I didn't expect. 4, understand, they realize that they need God's involvement. Every difference maker knows they need God's involvement. You see, that's where I was messing up, all right? I had no idea how to make a difference in Ted's life in 10th grade. I had no idea because I had no involvement with God. I was done with God. I was a believer in name only. I wasn't a believer in function. So what I did is I said, okay, God, I'm going to try to do life without you, and therefore I can't do anything in Ted's world. To be really honest with you, I became far more like Ted than ever making a difference in his world. And finally, understand that difference makers realize that there is risk. There's always risk. It might not go the way you think it's going to go. It might not have the happy ending you think is going to happen, but you're a difference maker. It's about this, right? It's about that statement. You know, that what if, that perhaps, just what if you were made for just such a time as this? What if, just what if the interruption that's walked into your world, what if you can make a difference with it? I told you there was more to the story of Ted, even though he disappeared. Well, there's more to the story of Ted because it became my story. The summer after my sophomore year, I joined a drama group. It was a Christian drama group. That's all we ever did, right? So I was in a Christian drama group, and I was the interruption to that group. I was the Ted of the group. I was a user of people. I devalued people. I obviously didn't like God. I was doing all kinds of things to disrupt. I was a jerk my sophomore year. But there was a guy in our group who was a difference maker. His name was David Larson. David Larson was 19 years old. He's the first true man I ever met in my life. And I no shot at my dad. First true man I ever met. This guy was a follower of Christ, and Christ is the ultimate man, and this guy figured out how to be a man. I've never met a man that was stronger, met a man who was more aware. And what he did with me was he just befriended me. He was the director of the show. He hung out with me, took me out to dinner after rehearsal. We'd talk. I'm 15 years old. He never once said, Keith, you're being a jerk. Keith, you're being a pain. And Keith, you're really messing this thing up. He never once did anything. He just hung out with me and listened, and we talked and we shared. And I kept watching, and I kept watching. And all of a sudden I realized he was different. And I said to him one night, it was August of that summer, David, how can I become the kind of guy you are? How can I trust God at the level you trust God? And I will never forget, he was sitting across from me, and he literally gone up. What I didn't know was he was doing the same thing Jesus does. Jesus stands at the door of your life, and he knocks. He just knocks. He doesn't make you open the door. He just stands there and just says, I'm here, just if you need me. Waiting for the moment when the door opens, and that was the moment for David, and he walked around behind me. He got even with me, and he dropped his head looking down, and he closed his eyes, and then he smiled, and then he looked up. And he said to me, hey, Keith, I've never told anybody this before, and to be honest with you, he never told anybody this after either, according to him. He said, but you need to be willing to give the two most important things to you over to God. He could have said 1,000 different things at that moment, but he said just the right thing. Remember, difference makers know what the first step is? He knew what the first step was. I was a believer in Jesus. I understood that Jesus Christ was the only way of salvation, but I was not a life change. And he found where my whole issue was. Could I trust God with the things that I thought were important? Because if I can't be a difference maker. There were two things at that point. There was a 1965 Mustang, 289. You understand at 15 years of age why that would do it for you? Okay, it was an automatic and a hardtop. Don't hold it against me, all right? But it was an awesome car. I owned it, I bought it, I had it. I had worked hard to get it. It was my car. I loved my car. And I was dating a girl who will not become my wife, okay? Just so you know, this is not my wife, far better than this. But I was dating this girl who I liked. Loved the car, liked the girl. But they were the two most important things in my life. I knew immediately. And all night long, I battled with God regarding them. Can I give them to you? Can I give them to you? Can I give them to you? I yelled at God. I screamed at God. I cursed God. I asked for his help. And finally, in exhaustion, as the sun came up in the morning on that August summer day, I said, here, God, I trust you. And instead of me being the problem, I became a life changed by Christ. You want to know why? Because when this unexpected thing happened to the acting group, 2 men showed up. One's named Jesus. One was named David Larson. What's our challenge? Be his, Jesus, God's difference maker. In whatever your circumstance is, be his difference maker. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for rescuing me, for loving me when I wasn't very lovable. Thank you so much, Father, for caring about me when I didn't care about much. Thank you that reality of your story into my story tells me that everybody in this room is in the same place. You care about them. You love them. That's what your story is, Father. Thank you that your story is so magnificent. It's always about the rescue. It's always about caring. It's always about loving. It's always about fighting for us. Father, I'm thinking of those that are sitting in this room and they're going, I don't think God cares about me. You don't know where my story is. You don't know how bad it is. I don't think he really is involved. Father, just give them the courage right now to say to you, but if you care, I'm open. Just seek the possibility of him. Lord, just help us to be able to do that right now. Each one of us to think that through. For those of us who trust Christ and we're lives changed by Christ and we believe that you're caring for us, Lord, help us to have this opportunity right now to say, Lord, I want to be a difference maker. I'm willing. I'm willing to count the cost. I'm willing to take the risk. I'm willing to take the unexpected thing that happens in my life and look for your story and think like a difference maker. Father, raise up an army of difference makers in this room. But may we not wait for the army. May we individually just say, okay, Lord, help us to be a difference maker and go and change the world in which we find ourselves, changing stories after story. Pray these things in Christ's name. Amen.